The world's 5 most terrifying serial killers. We all know how disturbing the serial killers and murder stories we see in horror movies are. But have you ever wondered where these serial killers and murder stories come from, and what inspires the screenwriters to write these scripts? While some movies are pure fiction, we know that many horror movies are inspired by real-life stories and world-renowned serial killers. The idea that these things happened makes them even more frightening. Here are 5 of the world's most frightening serial killers, and their chilling stories that will drag you into a horror movie. Ted Bundy. The American term serial killer was first used to describe Ted Bundy. This brutal man murdered more than 30 women in 10 years. Bundy kills his victims into different ways, beating them with a stick and strangling them. He is also known to have raped many of his victims, and even raped them after killing them. Ted Bundy is said to have been an educated and kind man, despite all the horrible murders he committed. Pedro Lopez Monsalve. This terrible man is known to have raped and murdered around 300 children in Colombia, Peru and Ecuador. However, for each child he raped and murdered, Pedro received a maximum sentence of 1 month in prison in the countries where he committed the crimes. The graves of 53 children he killed in 1980 alone have been identified by the police after his mother dies. Ed Gein becomes interested in anatomy in the hope of resurrecting his dead mother. In order to study anatomy, he steals corpses from the cemetery and applies what he has learned on them. Ed Gein. After a while he is sure that he cannot resurrect his mother, but he is particularly fascinated by the female body. Once, just for this reason, he skinned a woman about his mother's age and wore her clothes with his mother's clothes. Ed, whose passion for corpses and their skins grows more and more, becomes a master at it. He starts to make belts from the nipples of corpses and cups from their skulls. When he is caught, countless cadavers and many frightening items, such as lip necklaces and leather gloves, are found in his house. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo. Chikatilo is recognized as one of the most psychopathic serial killers of all time. He is known to have committed at least 53 murders between 78 and 90. The killer, who usually chose his victims among boys and young girls, would take them to a deserted place under various pretexts of helping them, such as giving them a ride home or feeding them, and then inflict incredible tortures such as cutting out their tongues, biting off their nipples, and eating their genitals. This horrible killer was caught and sentenced to death. Countess Elizabeth Bathory. The first female serial killer was known as the Bloody Countess. She tortured not only humans, but also animals. He tortured his victims by gouging out their eyes and severing their limbs. Bathory had a youth complex for which she constantly visited sorcerers. She is known to have bathed in the blood of many young girls, including her own daughter. Just for the sake of this dream, she committed her first murder at the age of 15, killing her husband. She punished her servants who worked for her by impaling them on stakes.